right, I'm going to try really hard not to go on endless tangents, but you know me, it's just like I've already used up half an hour of guaranteed house to myself time. So I've really got to try and stay on topic. Where have I been the past however long it's been? I can't remember what I've already told you, so I'm going to go back to the earliest relevant detail, which is maybe sometime earlier this month, maybe. I have, if you don't know, if you got here by accident, I have severe mental illness, it turns out, and it's sort of taken a bit of a turn. I feel like overall the trajectory of my life is my mental health gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Slowly, but it's getting worse. And so before that, I was starting to have breakdowns, like just crying, in public spaces in the house, not just in my room where no one can see me and I can get away with it. Like in front of my parents in the kitchen, they would walk in on me having a cry, which is just never used to happen. But anyway, that's the progression. Don't really have control over it. It just kind of happens. But yeah, in the past month or so, I think it's happened before, but like in the past month, I've started crying in like loud sobbing, which I also can't control and is really weird to see myself go through, because that's not how I deal with stuff. What the heck? And then, yeah, my parents, or like, I think I was loudly sobbing in my room. I think because that day, I live with my parents, with my disabled brother. He wakes up at stupid hours of morning some days and just yells and yells and yells and yells and yells. And it never occurs to him that no one is coming, that he should just stop and go do something else. He just keeps yelling unless you go and stare at him and shut him up. And then half an hour later, he's yelling again. And I'm not a morning person, and I just am not getting enough sleep. And on those days where I really don't get enough sleep, I can't cope with anything. Sleep is one of those basic human needs, and how are you supposed to be expected to function if you're not getting enough sleep? And with my mental health getting worse, it's just all adding up into a bit of a shit show. So I think that day, I don't remember exactly what happened or what triggered it to go into like that overdrive, but I was loudly sobbing in my room. I even had the door closed, but it was loud enough that Dad heard and came in to check on me. And when he asked me like what's going on and all that, I was non-communicative. I couldn't say anything. And so once he figured that out, he does this sort of boomer dad thing of sort of asking like, oh, what's going on, kind of, that attitude, instead of being immediately understanding. But he sort of figured it out after a while and sort of just kind of like side hugged me until I eventually stopped this loud sobbing. Enough that I was able to communicate. I was still kind of sobbing, but I was able to communicate at some point, and then gradually calmed down enough. And I think I went back to bed because I was just so exhausted after all that. Like, it takes a lot out of you. And I remember being able to think about what I wanted to say, but not actually being able to control the communication parts of my body. So yeah, and after that incident, Mum avoids this stuff. She's very emotionally awkward, which is probably partly, I suspect, some trauma stuff, but she's also Japanese, so cultural issues there. Japan is not a mentally healthy society. If you haven't noticed, there's suicide rates. So, mostly Dad, but they're both kind of concerned, and they were both Mum hugged me every day for a while there, and they were both checking in on me and actually making an effort. But then they went on holiday for 2 weeks at the second half of March. They went off to Japan, did this tour, had a great fucking time. I was home here with my little brother Mikey, the disabled brother, and his carers, a sort of cycling of carers. So we'd have a morning carer, a day carer, and an evening carer, and sometimes all those roles were filled by the same person or mixing and matching. And, during the week it's different people. Weekends was just the one guy. And on day two of being alone with disabled brother and carers, Mikey went and had a very small seizure. About 5 to 10 seconds, sort of just like blah, blah, blah. I think he buffed his head a little bit on the table. Not too hard though. But his morning carer, when this happened, she had never seen him have a seizure before. Now, I have grown up with this my entire life, so as soon as it happened, I was like, oh shit, he's having a seizure, and thankfully it finished before, like, I had a chance to do anything, but she was like, what was that? What do we do? And so I had to coach her through all the different things. If it happens again, if it goes for this amount of time, roll him on this side, do all this kind of stuff. When do you call the hospital? And I then had to do that for every carer that week. So the day carer, the night carer, the next day's carer, the next day's carer, the weekend carer, which, was not meant to be my role, really. So previously, the problem with the NDIS, it's made Mikey's life better and my parents' life better, but my life worse for a number of reasons. But, he used to go off to respite care and I'd get a break. Nowadays, I only get a break from him if he's in hospital. So is it in my interests to look after him? Like, it's really perverse in this kind of a way. So of course I'm traumatized. My God, it's still going on. Anyway, he used to go off to respite care. But then NDIS happened, and they also decided that respite care wasn't looking after him well enough. Because, they're randoms. They see him, once in a blue moon, or once a year, maybe. And, they don't know enough about him. They don't clean him up properly. He comes home with skin conditions, whatever. Okay, I get it. But initially, my other brother was still living with us. And so when my parents went away, he would help out a lot because he's just he's a lot better adjusted than me, had a lot more support in childhood than me, has a different personality, and is just really into caring. He got all the caring that I don't have. In some ways, we have a lot of gender stereotypes have been swapped between us. But yeah, so he used to help with all that stuff. But then, of course, he moved out and he's got other responsibilities to deal with and, doesn't live close, but not that close. It's still a drive. So then my parents, they still want to go on holiday. And for a while, my other brother would come and stay here while they went away, which is just not really fair on him. He's happy to do it, but does no one think maybe you shouldn't be forcing that on your kid? But whatever, never mind, he's happy. Anyway, but now, his life has gotten more complicated, so it's just not working out. So then the last time my parents went away, they organized, these carers, but they set up this gap so that between the day carer and the night carer, there'd be 2 hours where he had no carer, and I was expected to fill that gap. And it fucked up my life because I couldn't organize anything. I had to make sure I was home during that time. And just anyway, so this time, I sort of insisted, please no gap. I can barely look after myself. You want me to look after this disabled sibling? I'm technically disabled now because of growing up in this situation. I can't cope with life. Even the government has decided to stop harassing me about that. If you can convince the government to back off in this country, you have a problem. And they recognize it. My parents have really struggled. Anyway, so they did that. And the idea was that I wouldn't have to worry about it. There would be a continuous cycle of carers. But no, he went and had a seizure. And yeah, technically they're supposed to have training, but if you don't really see it that much in life, it's easy to forget. If you don't get practice, if you don't, yeah. And, theory versus actually seeing a seizure is a different thing. Now, luckily, he didn't have any more seizures, except for that same day in the afternoon, the evening carer, I'd briefed her, the evening carer said, oh yeah, he had another small one, but he's fine. And okay, well, shit, hey. But then I had to keep briefing the rest of the carers the rest of the week because we weren't sure if he was going to have another. So there's that stress. And of course, I had to report it back to my parents because, they've got the internet overseas and just, keep them informed of what's going on, ask them if there's anything that I don't know that is supposed to happen because I'm not really up to date with all his care. Anyway, so that was the first week of them going away, that level of stress, and it really fucked me up. I think it might have fucked up my sleep a bit more, and so I had to nap more, because also I was just like constantly on call, because if anything happened, I would be the ones that the carers would call first, even though there are other contacts. I'm the only one living here. And it was just a lot. It was a lot to have to worry about and be prepared for and all that. And just, I think that, you know, after the first week, in the weekend, he had another one of those early morning holla, 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 waking me up, and I was not coping that day, but then I recovered a bit. But then the following week is just like every single day we had a visitor, and I don't understand how I work, but I did something really nice for my parents. So on the Monday, I had a guy come and, quote, to pressure wash all our hard surfaces outside. And then on Friday that week, he came and he did it all, and it took a long time, but the place looks really nice. Eventually I'll get outside and do another like bonsai live stream, and you should be able to see the difference, because like those old mossy grimy bricks and pavers and all that, they are spotless, a little bit more spotted now that it's rained a bit on them, but like they look new. It's crazy. Like, the guy did an amazing job. I think he's just like this obsessive guy with a real pride in his work. And I'm like, I wish I could experience anything like that and just be that committed to doing such an amazing job. I follow him on Facebook, and, you know, he does before and after photos, and that's how I found him. I can't remember. I think it was through some local group he posted in, and I'm just looking at these before and after transformations, and I'm like, yeah, it would work well there as a before and after. Our place. Yeah, because some of the surfaces here have not been done since we renovated like 25 years ago. So yeah, I did that. I organized that for them. I paid for it myself. He gave me a little bit of a discount, which is nice, because he got really invested in the store. I'm like, look, my parents are away. I keep telling them that this needs to be done, because it's a slip hazard when things get really grimy and they're old, and then we've got disabled kid, and then it just looked gross. I think the week before it had been the green pickup day, and I had started sweeping and weeding and got a bit carried away, and then I was just looking at all the things around the house, and I'm like, it just has to be done. Look how horrible it is. And then he popped up in Facebook again. I'm like, you know what? They're away. I'm going to do it myself, and there's nothing they can do to stop me. But yeah, no, and also he was affordable, because he's this dude who's retired. I know I've already gone off topic. He's this dude who's retired, but he got bored and started to get depressed, so that's why he came back to do pressure washing and doesn't charge too much, because he doesn't actually need the money, he just needs something to do. Yeah, so I paid for that, got a bit of a discount, looked really good, wrote him a nice review, and like, he's one of those guys, if you say something nice about him, he like really, it just like boosts his mood a lot. And I'm like, I wish I could feel that too. It was really fascinating watching him. But anyway, so Monday he comes to, quote, Tuesday I'm helping one of my aunts with her Pope website. I know, I come from a Catholic family. She knows I'm not Catholic. She knows I'm a heavy metal, rah-rah, goth. Like, I turned up to her kid's wedding and all gothed up. Yeah, she knows all that, but I'm also like the tech kid in the family, I guess. I know how to Google stuff. I'm not that tech, really. I just know how to Google stuff when I want something done. Anyway, but what she wants me to do is kind of basic, so to her, yeah, whatever. So she came over to show me some of the stuff, but there's still more information, because I don't have access to all the accounts that I need to properly manage this website. But I don't need to do anything, because it's like, she'll ask me, hey, can you post this? And it'll take me 5 minutes, and she thinks it's amazing. Then the next day I had psychology, and then in the afternoon my wise godmother came to check on me, who is like one of the people who cares about me the most in my life. Then on Thursday, my brother Dave came to check on me. And then on Friday, the dude was here doing the pressure washing. And then on Saturday, Triton and I just crashed, because visitors are tough on him too, because he gets excited, runs around, tires himself out. And then Sunday, I was just like cleaning the place up. and trying to put back some of the stuff. Oh, that's right, Dave came over to help me move things ahead of pressure washing, because we couldn't have all those tables outside in the way. Yeah, this is not the mental health part of the video. This is me going on a tangent, trying to be thorough without... Anyway, yeah, so that was a really, like, long week where I think I coped better because Mikey was doing okay, but I just was tired out from all the socializing and organizing that big surprise for my parents, which I didn't tell them about. And yeah, I think they came home on the Monday morning and they decided to come home by ferry, but then they had to find a way to get their luggage back here. So Mum actually walked all the way just to pick up her car. And so I had to give her her keys because I'd been maintaining their cars as well. These bloody fancy newfangled hybrid electric things, if you don't turn them on every few days, they die. The battery dies. I can leave my car out on the street for months at a time, turn the key and it'll run fine. But these newfangled ones, they're constantly draining their battery. So I had to keep going in there to turn them on. That's why I had my parents' car keys. I had to give hers to her, and I made her just sort of stand in the front yard waiting to see how long it'd take her to notice. And the first thing she noticed, I didn't put all the pot plants back because I wanted her to be able to see everything, and also they were a little bit dirty from, you know, all the washing going on them. And she just sort of stood around like, "You moved the pots?" I'm like, no, I'll just give you another moment. She was so happy when she did notice. Anyway, then she went and picked up Dad. Point of that story, they're away for 2 weeks. I dealt with very stressful situation. I also had to deal with one of Mikey's carers who is like a conspiracy theorist. And his grasp of logic does kind of show in the way that he stacks a dishwasher. I will not elaborate on that, but conspiracy theory dishwasher stacking, I will elaborate on it. There was a clear free space to put a plate, and instead of putting it there, he awkwardly like angled it in somewhere else. I'm just like, you can't see that free spot right there. So, you know, I don't know, just saying, conspiracy theorists slotting things into places that are completely unnecessary when there's obvious spot right here. Everything makes sense if you just put it right there and stop thinking all these crazy things. I don't fucking know. Anyway, he's a really nice guy. He actually kept Mikey out of the house longer than anyone else because, I mean, he was here the whole weekend, like, doing a continuous shift, so it's easy for him. But also, I think he sensed that I just needed the place to myself. So he cares in that way. It's just like the emotional side of things, he's good. The logical side of things, yeah. So I ended up doing more chores over the weekend just to make sure that they were done semi-right instead of completely all over the place. But yeah, so 2 weeks, parents away, I'm looking after the house, I'm briefing carers on this very stressful situation of Mikey having a seizure, dealing with the conspiracy theory guy, dealing with intense socialization for a week, organizing a surprise for my parents, and they had no idea what hit them. Dad noticed straight away, apparently, I wasn't home for that. And then they kept trying to pay me back for it, and I'm like, you guys don't fucking get it. That's not the point. And then, like, the first few days when they came back, I think I was doing okay. What day even is it? My sense of time is all fucked up. Yeah, that was last week. But then there was a day where Mikey did that thing of waking up at like 5 in the morning. And this is like right before daylight saving ends. So if he keeps waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, then the next day it's going to be 4 o'clock in the morning equivalent. And I just did really badly. My parents were out, but I had another one of those loud sobbing incidents, except instead of just sobbing, just crying, Triton has been going through a bit of a teenager phase, and he's going through something, I don't know, and he wasn't cooperating, and I started screaming, like, not in a heavy metal way. This was in like a pained screaming way, not just crying and sobbing. I was like screaming, not at him. I walked over to a table and I was just like screaming. It's fucked up. That is not how I see myself, and it was not control. It took me a while to like come out of that. And I think Triton, I couldn't get him in his crate, so I just left him in the back room, came to my room and just crashed into bed because I was just so tired. I could not cope with anything. And yeah, I can't remember how my parents learned of this, whether it was through Facebook or whether I said something, I don't know. But, you know, a lot of concern over my sleeping, and keeping in mind, like, they were really happy with me keeping on top of the home situation and all that, handling that and organizing the surprise for them. But I think because they've been on holiday, they've sort of reset a bit and forgotten how much I'm struggling with my mental health, because they were actually starting to get better before they went on this holiday. They were actually starting to be a bit more supportive, but then it kind of went back to just assuming that I'm fine until I had this really major breakdown. And you know, a lot of concern around the place, and it was so bad that I am forgetting some details, but like what ended up happening is I ended up staying at my godmother's place, or trying to stay at my godmother's place, because it's not too far away, and just staying there for the night. So I didn't even need to take much stuff, just like, you know, I brushed my teeth here, I did my skincare here, and then I wandered out into the night and went to her place, carried my pillows all the way there, carried my coffin bag all the way there, and you know, she had it really set up nice for me and all that, but I just couldn't sleep. After about 2 hours, like when I first turned off the light, I was drowsy, but I couldn't sleep, and after 2 hours, I was about as awake as it's possible to be, and I thought, you know what, if I don't sleep 2 nights in a row, or like, you know, it was just like, if I don't sleep, I'm not going to cope. So I cut my losses, packed up all my stuff, chucked my pants and stuff, so on, like my pants and my jumper, I think, over my pajamas, and walked all the way back and got into my own bed. But then it took me an hour to wind down, which is the same as when I come home from a late night gig. My brain needs an hour after walking around and all that to like be able to fall asleep. But yeah, and then I probably got about 3 hours sleep before Mikey started up again, and I actually was doing okay after that. I was doing okay after that, but then because I hadn't slept and because I'd come home and, you know, I'd messaged my parents just letting them know I'd come home, I think Mum got super stressed, and I, like, with that 3 hours of sleep, I managed to get the exact amount of sleep deprivation to trigger the antidepressant effect. So this is an actual thing. If you get just the right sort of sleep deprivation, it can have a temporary antidepressant effect on your brain. They don't know exactly how it works, and it's very risky to try it because obviously not getting sleep is bad for you, except in this one, like, very specific case. So yeah, I was actually doing okay. I was exhausted, but I was doing okay that day. But then Mum comes along with her stress, has a go at me, attacks me for not sleeping, like accuses me of not trying, and like, I get it, she's stressed, but that's not the way to fix it. Like, she's worried about me, but attacking me and making me feel worse is not the way to do it. And so there was this whole thing, and, you know, we were gonna go to this thing to look at, you know, we've been thinking about getting Triton a friend. First, I've probably mentioned it here, and we were going to go and look at a specific breed. They were having a meetup, and I was fully prepared to go, but there was this whole thing, and I had to explain, like, Dan came in at some point, and I had to explain, like, you know, the antidepressant effect and why, like, she shouldn't be doing this right now, because I was doing okay until she started going on about that. And then, you know, she was, like, you know, I said, this isn't helping, can we not do this right now? Can we talk about it later? Because right now I'm doing okay, but you're bringing me down. Can we do it another time? And she said, oh, I can't do it because I'll forget. You know, I'm feeling it now, and if I don't say it now, I'll forget. I'm like, look, you can just write it down and come back to it later, and then you won't forget. She hasn't, because she refuses to do any kind of therapy. I think my mum does need therapy, but she absolutely refuses. Probably a bit of pride in there, probably a bit of not understanding, and not wanting to admit to needing any help. But so she doesn't know the thing, like the example that I gave, and I'm like to my parents, this is just an example, I don't have any better example, don't panic. But when you're thinking of offing yourself, you should wait 24 hours because chances are you'll calm down in that time and then not do it. And so I was trying to explain, like, you know, you're super emotional right now, Mum. You need to take a breather. This is why. She just doesn't get it. And yeah, then I also explained that if they're worried about me, instead of just coming in trying to solve all these problems, trying to like be like, you need to try harder, rah, 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 the right thing to do would have been to, like, you know, on finding out that I didn't sleep well, that I came home, that it didn't work out, staying at my godmother's place, the right thing to do would have been to like be comforting and understanding and show me some sympathy. And Mum was like, how much sympathy do you need? At which point Dad cut her off. Which is probably wise. Dad's getting better at being a mediator. I've got to say, credit to my dad. Like, he's still that boomer kind of dude, but he has been getting better at some of this stuff. Slowly, but he's getting better. Because I would have been like, how about any sympathy? Oh my god. How much sympathy do I need? Like, just any. Instead of like, rah, rah, rah. Yeah, and at some point, like, you know, Dad was trying to mediate, she walked out, and then he went to check on her, and after talking to me a bit more about a few things, and, you know, I mentioned that we were going to go to this thing, and he came back down and was like, yeah, no. Now, I don't know if Mum actually wanted to go. Like, I had been fully prepared to go, but we didn't end up going because, you know, Dad indicated that, like, she was just not in any state to do anything. But I feel like in conversations we've had since then, I feel like she thinks that I'm the reason we didn't go. I don't know, but anyway, Triton's having issues. He doesn't like puppies, I've realised, and so maybe we shouldn't get him a friend, at least until he's, like, properly out of the teenager phase and hopefully chills out. Yeah, it's just like, you know, I thought he wants to rough and tumble, but, yeah, and, like, I'm not in a position to, I'm not in a mental state to train another fucking puppy. It was gonna be Mum's puppy, but she is sort of apprehensive about all the work that goes in. She sees how much work I put in and uses me as the standard and worries that she can't do enough. So at least she recognizes the effort that I put in, but in this really roundabout way that kind of, like, she's got all this stress, but she takes it out on me, and it's sort of a similar thing with the whole idea of the dog. She also has this idea that, like, I think she maybe actually thinks that I am going to kill myself, which is a possibility, but she's, like, actually worried about being stuck with two dogs if anything happens to me. Yeah, but so a lot of stress. I feel like I've probably missed some stuff, so I can just quick scroll through my... How do I pause this? So I can just quick scroll through my... Is there still a pause button? There it is. I'm just going to quick scroll through my psych diary because I can never remember anything. Yeah, okay. So, the first breakdown... Oh no, I've lost my place, hang on. Okay, shit, yeah, so after the, crying, the screaming incident, you know, my parents didn't know that had gone on. So I actually, like, stayed in my room for about 6 hours that day. I didn't have lunch. And when I finally managed to come out, I made it to the kitchen and kind of just collapsed at the door and couldn't make it any further into the room. As you know, my parents were both there. It would have been better if they weren't there, because then I could go in and not have to... I don't think I would have broken down, just because my brain... If there's people who can see that I'm upset, it kind of makes it harder. Then my brain breaks down even more, and I remember trying really hard to cheer me up, and I just couldn't move for a while. Dad made me some tea though, and yeah, that's when my parents found out what a terrible day I was having. And then the next day, Mikey woke me up really early again, and I think Dad heard me crying, like, you know, at 6 or 7 in the morning. Not as bad. I was able to communicate more, but yeah, that's how the whole thing happened with going to my godmother's. he checked with her about that. And then that day when I did stay at my godmother's, when Dad confirmed that very unlikely that Mum and I were going to the dog thing, and like I was in no state to drive, so I couldn't even take Triton to meet these dogs, because 3 hours of sleep is not really safe for driving. So instead I just took Triton for a walk, and I happened to bump into my godmother and my uncle, and they were so much more comforting. Like, they did pretty much what parents should do for me in that conversation. So that was helpful. And I met, like, I had the antidepressant effect. So, like, the whole way that I was talking, I was able to cope with everything so much better. It's crazy, like, the way that mental illness works and the lack of control I feel over how I am on a given day. It's wild. I feel like I'm losing control. Like, even more than I've already am. So, and then later that day, so when I got home from the walk with Triton, it was a longer walk than usual because I stopped and talked for a while, and then, we wandered all over the place. When I got home, Mum and Dad were out. It was such a relief to not have to come back and deal with stuff. And it turned out they'd gone shopping. I thought, like, maybe Dad could have taken her to the dog thing, just them, but no, they didn't think like that. And then, things seem to be better, and then Mum comes to me with, like, this chocolate as a peace offering. It was really awkward because it wasn't special chocolate or anything. It was just like a box of favorites and a tub of regular M&Ms. Now, regular M&Ms are not my M&M of choice, but you can't really get tubs of mini M&Ms, which are the ones I prefer. But anyway, she gives them to me as a peace offering, and I'm like, okay. So I think she was expecting me to take them to my room, but I put the favorites into, I've established a communal chocolate bowl in the kitchen, because every now and then, like, there's constantly chocolate sales. Isn't the price of chocolate meant to go up because we have a shortage? But no, there's constant sales. So when there's a sale and I happen to be out, I just grab all the chocolate that I can grab, bring it home, put it in this communal bowl, because there's no way I can eat it all myself, but I'm Asian enough to want the deal. So I put it in that because we were almost out of chocolate anyway. And then the M&M's thing is still out there. I don't know if anyone but me has been eating it. I gave some to my friend when she came over the other day. But yeah, it was kind of a weird thing. Like, I guess it's a sort of Japanese thing to give me stuff instead of making up in any normal communication, emotion kind of way. Also, peace offering. What does that mean? Is that just like we're not going to go on each other? Is this it's not really the same as, like, being friends? I don't know. It was just like this weird detached kind of thing. Like, you can see why I'm probably predisposed to schizoid if that's what my mum's like. Trauma can send you into all kinds of mental illnesses, but this is the one my brain picked. I'm doing a lot better than I used to, but I can see how I went through all the things that I went through growing up. So peace offering, and then things have been okay since then. We had a guy come later that day, which had already been organized a few days before, or maybe the day before, I can't remember, but there's going to be this door and Mikey's door, and I think the door across the hall, they're going to get soundproof doors. Now, I don't know how they work, and I'm a bit skeptical given my audio training. And also there's the issue of the bathroom door and the hole in the ceiling that connects to Mikey's room, which I have informed them of, and, some suggestions on how to fix it. You could also do the bathroom door, but Dad's like, no. I get it, these doors are expensive, but why would you prioritize the one across the hall instead of the one that's actually connected to the sound at hand? I don't know. Parent logic. The thing is, like, with the pressure washing that I did outside, I had been telling them for ages, hey, we should get this guy in. He's really good. Look at the state of this outside. We've got a little gurney. It's not enough. It's not enough to get rid of it. And they didn't listen to me. And then I go and do it. It's an amazing job at a very reasonable price. My mum thought it was going to cost, like, 2 or 3 times as much. Dan's guess was closer, but still higher than, even if I had paid full price, his guess was still higher. So, very affordable job, looks amazing, much safer to walk on. And I'm like, so like it should demonstrate to them that they should ask my opinion and listen to me. But no, straight away we're back to like me not worrying about that door. Whatever. This is the thing, like my parents make these decisions about all kinds of stuff that affect my life, but they don't consult me and they don't listen to me. And there's things like, with the whole evening carer situation, that was my idea. But when I first brought it up, they were really offended, especially mum. And, I was told I was selfish for wanting an evening carer, but now they can't do without it. And they never actually apologized to me for being so aggro. And that was only a few years ago after my mental health problems are well and truly known. And they, they just treat me like that. Like if I make a suggestion, I'm selfish somehow, even though it benefits everyone. It's fucking weird. There's no logic to it. So yeah, I'm just not consulted about a lot of stuff. My opinion isn't listened to. Of course I'm mentally fucked. Yeah, so I'm gonna change some of the doors. Like hopefully that'll help, but it's gonna be a few months before they're ready. And I don't really know how much they cost. It sounds like it's gonna be a lot, but they haven't actually told me properly. Yeah, and then I did sleep better, because I was just so exhausted that day. Because I went to my godmother's place, I missed out on the extra hour of sleep from daylight saving ending. Oh well. But yeah, at least the next night, I got more sleep, better sleep, managed to stay asleep longer, thank God. So I did a little bit better, but I was still struggling. Monday, I saw my doctor. We'll get to that in a moment if I have time. I don't know how soon everyone's coming home. They said around 5. I've only got like 10 minutes left. But yeah, so I think what really helped me get back to this state where I can make videos again, Tuesday, what day is today? Today's Thursday. Oh my God, Tuesday afternoon, I had another facial, but I went all out. Instead of just getting the standard facial package, I got the total well-being package or whatever, where they start off with a 30-minute massage with like nice smelling stuff, and then this funky scrub. I've never had my back scrubbed with that stuff. It was bizarre. But nice to have a massage. Then they do the facial, and then because it was part of a package, I got like a free add-on, and so I chose the stress relief scalp massage, and I started to fall asleep. That was actually nice. So yeah, and I think that helped sort of chill me out a bit, and just like having 90 minutes of someone just focused on me instead of me having to deal with everyone else, me thinking about everyone else and not really getting enough back. It was nice to just have myself pampered, and a little bit less worried about the face this time. Is more like the massage and the head scrub that was really good. But my face is also been revitalized, and you can't even tell how tired I am. I think there's just shadows from my glasses, but yeah, so that chilled me out. And I don't think I slept great that night. Like it was just a normal kind of sleep, but I had more energy in the morning, and so I didn't have to nap yesterday. I did some art instead. Same thing today, I did some art. So with the mecha thing, the spray that I showed you yesterday, I don't think I slept any better, and I had a really weird night where I thought I wasn't sleeping, but I remember having these weird illogical dreams, so I must have slept, and then I'm functioning okay today. I haven't napped today, I did art instead. So I must have slept, but I don't think it was any more than normal, and then I just had this weird feeling of not sleeping. So I'll try it again tonight, and maybe the next night, just in case it's something that my brain needs to get used to, but I'm not that sold on the claims that it helps you sleep. Yeah, so... Oh no, they're back. That might be it. I might have to continue the rest later. Well, to be continued. We haven't really done that much on this channel. Part 1. Was there anything quickly to add? Oh yeah, follow me on Instagram if you want to know what I'm doing when I'm absent from YouTube for a long time. Follow me on Instagram. I post stories, and you can see not the deep stuff, but like when I'm doing art, when I'm doing things with the dog, maybe occasionally some fashion, but mostly I just post meaningless stuff. Yeah, okay, to be continued. I might have to make notes on what I haven't covered yet, because I don't